Okay, perfect. Okay, so good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce and today's webinar on social value driving forward successful businesses. I'm Narinda Multani, here at the Chamber of Commerce. That's the Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce. So my member Richard Collins of CSR Accreditation will be delivering today's webinar, which is being recorded and will be available to listen to again via the Chamber webinar library. So you can go into the Chamber website. Under the event section, there is a section called Webinar Library, and you can listen to all the other webinars along with Richard's through that link. So if you do have any questions for Richard, please post them in the chat box and Richard will answer them for you at the end. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I'm now going to pass you over to Richard. So thank you, Richard.
Good morning. Thank you, Narinda, for that introduction, and good morning to everybody who's joining us today on the webinar. I'm going to talk about the importance of in delivering social responsibility as part of a business strategy. I want to show the different benefits and the different drivers that can actually deliver a successful business and sustainable business going forward. In fact, it's my belief that the future shape of business will be measured in both social value and financial value. And that businesses, need to kind of look at social responsibility as building resilience, especially in recovery as we go through to next year and into a year of hopeful positive transition. So I'm just going to start off with my first slide, and then what I'd like to do as well, I just want to mention that there was a few minor issues with the broadband stability earlier, so do be patient if things freeze. And secondly, I would very much welcome questions at the end of the session. So I'm going to leave a little bit of time to try and answer those questions if you have any. So I'm going to talk first about investing in a financial and social value is a win-win for business and society. A structured CSR program is the practical step developed out of an organisation's set of meanings, beliefs and values, namely its culture. This sets out that an organisation's ethical responsibility for its operational impact on society is integrated into the culture. And so a CSR culture is born and defined as shared meaning, belief and values, underpinned by the notion of the business's sustainability. It is a powerful force that gives meaning to people's lives, reduces uncertainty and creates stability, but is also the determinant of the success or failure of an organisation. There is now increasing recognition that a structured social responsibility programme can be used as a source of competitive advantage through good corporate governance, effective execution of innovative social projects and ethical management. In order to maximise this potential, it is essential for organisations to smartly communicate their social responsibility efforts, i.e. their culture, the things that make them a caring company and different from their competitors, to ensure that consumers view them as driven by intrinsic, genuine, rather than extrinsic profit-led motivations. There is no doubt about the impact of social responsibility on profitability for an organisation. The financial value of CSR can be seen across all of the 4 CSR pillars of workplace, environment, community and philanthropy. A socially responsible strategy can help you, the managing director, the business owner or the senior executives, set better goals, make better decisions and improve your relationships. A social responsibility programme will improve many business functions, like streamlining the hiring process, improving turnover, building a great and engaged team, as well as increased profit, sales and customer services. CSR is about the future, discovering your sustainable potential and achieving it. And we look at social responsibility as delivering both that social value and that financial value, that return on social investment, so we can see how it has an impact on reduced absenteeism, on increased engagement and productivity, on attracting investment, winning tenders, and improving reputation and brand visibility. But we'll also look at that social return on investment, the impact you have in improving the welfare and enriching the quality of life of your staff, in improving the environment that you work and live in, and engaging with the community in terms of supporting community products and charities. By caring about the workforce, the environment, and supporting the community and charities, a business can dramatically improve its reputation, brand visibility, customer and staff loyalty, and long-term sustainability. In fact, last year, one of the USA's most powerful business groups has abandoned the shareholder first idea that has driven capitalism for decades. The Business Roundtable said the pursuit of shareholder interests is no longer the central purpose of corporate America. Companies should focus on social responsibilities as well as profits. It is widely accepted today that organisations have a relationship with the communities in which they operate. The relationship should be based on community engagement and involvement to promote and contribute to community development and environment. Community involvement, either through associations or seeking to enhance the public good, helps to strengthen civil society. An organisation's contribution to community development can help to promote high levels of mental health and well-being in the community and in the workplace. For example, through apprenticeships and work placements or local investment. Of course, what we have seen in the last 8 or 9 months is a complete change. We could see it as being a sea change in terms of the COVID-19 being a game changer. But has the coronavirus pandemic actually reintroduced us to a more authentic normal? One in which we have a stronger sense of community and social responsibility. It feels like we have lost sight of the values and we are now beginning to see them again. Since February, the world has changed dramatically and the focus on social responsibility has become far more important. We are already witnessing incredible acts of kindness, support for struggling businesses and charities and individuals with positive business practices. This will become normal as consumers and stakeholders expect increased social value from the businesses they are engaged with. Over the past few years, employees have recognised their workforce's need for both care and purpose. And in the light of recent events, this is more important than ever before. It's likely that when we return to the office, businesses will have the opportunity and the desire to rethink their approach to well-being and culture. 60% of organisations were seeing an increase in mental health conditions before COVID, and 1 in 10 organisations have a mental health strategy. Customers want to trust organisations they engage with. Employees want to work for value-driven employers, and investors want to know that a company is addressing its ethical responsibility. A recent study of millennials by American Express found that in the US, 68% want to make a positive difference in the world, and 81% believe a successful business needs to have genuine purpose. By focusing on the values and culture of a business, the profits will come. By focusing solely on profits, the values do not necessarily come. In fact, focusing on hard profit can actually promote the wrong behaviour and values. And we are seeing a shift. We are seeing a shift in the attitudes of a new generation coming into the workplace, a new talent pool, and an attitude that they want to work for a purpose and value-driven world. You know, making money is of course important, and making profits are important, but it's about how we divide that between increasing that social value and that ability to build a better community and a better world to live and work in. Financial impact, positive or negative, adapt and change. What are we going to do to stay in business? There will undoubtedly be negative financial impact for many businesses. And therefore, it is most important ever to focus investment and efforts on things that will give you most reward in the short and long term. Most organisations measure their financial situation of their businesses on daily, weekly, monthly basis with financial reviews and reports. What is often less measured is the business situation in terms of impact on the environment, their staff, their community, and the society around them. If the society around a business is broken, then they will not do much business. So it's incumbent on all businesses to have a social responsibility as well. In fact, a famous American airline worked in a situation in which the community around them was not working particularly well. The investment in that community had broken down, and it had an impact on the attitude of the staff. So the staff became disillusioned with the organisation they were working with. And as they became disillusioned and unengaged, they started to treat each other badly, and they started to treat the customers badly. So it took a huge behaviour change of the new incumbent chief execs to kind of pull that business around and then inject a sense of social responsibility and community engagement to build recovery in that business. And that business recovered very quickly once that happened. There are, of course, leading and lagging indicators. Measuring the financial situation of a business is in fact a lagging indicator. How well has the business done financially in the last year, for example? Leading indicators give you some insight into how the business will be in the future. The 4 pillars of CSR give you the structure to measure leading indicators that will affect your business. The 4 pillars become a really lovely way in which you can audit yourself against environment, against workplace, against community engagement, and against philanthropic endeavours. So you're able to put into those pillars the actions that you're already doing and look at areas that you can improve on. For example, Skanska in the US was turning a very poor profit. Although it was doing quite well initially, it started to struggle. And this was through very poor diversity of staff and thinking, and also a high number of safety and environmental incidents. Customer care figures were decreasing, and the increase in sick leave and staff turnover also increased. Everything was pointing to a crash, and it happened. So if you measure things through a well-structured social responsibility program, you'll be able to make your business more resilient. In fact, what Skanska learned to do was engage with those areas and build that resilience up over the coming years, and since have been an absolute leader in terms of their social responsibility. Of course, there are short and long-term decisions. There will be short and long-term financial decisions that will need to be made. Short-term, some of the day-to-day of the business will still need to continue. A strong leader will be able to carry on the essentials, and this includes spending in the short term. The business will really decide what needs to be stopped, adapted, or changed altogether. Of course, long-term, business leaders and their senior teams will need to review new emerging trends and have time to discuss and reflect on the potential impacts and opportunities on business. The pestle and SWOT analysis to review business under new conditions. And a good example of that, and we do touch on the kind of changing legislation and regulations, especially as we've seen the impact that COVID has had on business and our working trends. But the shift to flexible working, certainly in Buckinghamshire, we've seen between an 70 and 80% shift to working from home rather than the commute into London. And this brings a new set of responsibility for employers around how their employees now work, what office space is available to them, what health and safety rules are available to them, who's going to manage their energy performance and waste. And also, what about that percentage who don't want to work remotely? What are we putting in place for them? How are we managing that? And how are we managing the mental health and well-being? Now, at the moment, some of these are things that we can decide to do, but I do think that in time, there will be new regulations that will come in. And I think it's far better to act before you're told to do something, so you have control over how you implement it. Staff will need to be engaged, of course, and informed to bring them along the journey, as well as to be able to understand the financial cuts need to make the impact. We think it's critically important that actually you engage staff throughout the organisation to help deliver the social responsibility commitments that you have. And it is about, of course, reviewing your business plan. Either create that 2021 plan to run alongside your usual 3 or 5 year plan and refer between the two, because it's not business as usual. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Either keep your original plans as they were, because there may be elements there that are still essential. Alternatively, you can write 2 business plans, one worst case and one best case, and the true answer will probably lie between the two. And of course, there is the whole business around reputation management, acts of kindness and positive business. We've seen so many incidents in the last few months of businesses supporting community projects or supporting PPE or supporting struggling charities, from large organisations and large brands that we know to small organisations who have changed the way that they've modelled their business. For example, Clarks of Amersham, who are a removal company, changed their entire business model to support the delivery of food to people who were shielded. Companies often favour suppliers who have responsible policies, since this can reflect on how customers see them. Some customers don't just prefer to deal with responsible companies, they insist on it. And this is going to become an increasingly big factor in terms of supply chain management, working with suppliers that match the values and vision and purpose that you have as an organisation. A corporation's public image is, in fact, at the mercy of its social responsibility programmes. Remember, consumers feel good shopping at institutions that help the community. Clean up your public image and broadcast it to the world. Acts of kindness are making a big difference. In a recent poll carried out by YouGov, the Mental Health Foundation found more than 6 in 10 of us feel anxious or worried because of coronavirus. While it's undoubtedly a worrying time for everyone, it's not all bad news. Many individuals and companies have shown amazing acts of kindness by going above and beyond in their effort to keep on going, to help with the ongoing pandemic. Caring and acts of kindness are not just nice things to do. This is a key trend showing a customer that you care like a friend, be that through face-to-face interaction or sharing such positive stories on social media. It's a trend that, when it becomes a habit, will be something your business will be remembered for. Supporting a cause that aligns with your expertise can be both a win for the community partners and the organisation, with new customer visibility and revenue streams. An organisation that we work with who build care homes for later living have implemented a policy around social isolationism. We help drive that policy for them. They identified that out of the 5.1 million people over the age of 75, 3.2 million of them lived in isolation. And this was before COVID kicked in. So I think we could sympathise with that. Now I think we have an empathy for that. What they did was make sure that when they build a care home within a certain area, they now talk to the local authorities about where social isolationism exists in the community. And they build the care home to accommodate that local need. So they build spaces within the care home to allow people from the local community to come in through hobby groups, cooking groups, walking groups, and to create social connectivity. Further than that, they have allowed every single member of their workforce an hour a week to engage with somebody who lives alone, either face-to-face, pre-COVID, or at the moment during the phone. And interestingly enough, it's those days that that member of staff goes home feeling most satisfied with, feeling that they've done something positive, because it went above and beyond the core purpose of their job role. Kind gestures are an important force in the way we conduct our personal and professional lives. Of course, it builds trust, loyalty, and improves reputation for your business. According to a recent US study, 87% of customers would purchase a project based on a company supporting a social or environmental issue that a customer cares about. Consumers are rewarding socially responsible companies through brand loyalty, making donations to charities company support, and purchasing their projects that provide a social benefit. Trust. Don't get it wrong. Act with integrity, and of course, be authentic. Something that we have become increasingly interested in is the emotional investment, how that can enrich the quality of our lives, of the lives of all stakeholders, both within and without as an organisation. We often talk about the tangible benefits of having a social responsibility policy, the ones that have a clear and easy measurable outcome. But what about those intangible benefits? Social responsibility is a powerful emotional investment and has a positive impact on all stakeholders. It makes us feel good because it's about something good. It also has a way to add value and give greater purpose to time beyond the job role and title. It's about giving, not just taking. How can we help our staff, customers, and supply chain? What do we expect from them? Are we listening to what people are saying? Do we understand their values and what matters to them? By aligning that, we can build this movement for good and create this lasting legacy that improves the future for all our businesses. Social responsibility allows employers to enrich the quality of their staff's lives by including CSR as part of the job description. You can develop social responsibility initiatives that make your employees proud. A startling Gallup poll last year indicated that only 10% of the UK workforce are engaged in their jobs. Staggering 48% not being engaged and 22% being actively disengaged. That 22% having a definite negative impact on the businesses that they work for. In the poll, it suggested that the 3 main reasons to engage staff was purpose, autonomy, and skills training, investment. So in terms of that purpose, is providing the opportunity for staff to engage in something that makes them feel proud above and beyond their job description. The autonomy is allowing those members of staff to make decisions. So for example, a good example last year was when the post office asked its staff who they wanted to support. Who would you like to support as an organisation? And they said that they were concerned about mental health and wellbeing. So the post office chose to support Mind UK to support a charity and engage their staff in that. They then provide time for their staff to offer pro bono volunteering, regular volunteering time, fundraising opportunities and financial gifts in kind to support Mind UK. But while they were doing that, Mind UK was helping the post office as well. It was helping the post office by talking to its staff about mental health and wellbeing. And at the end of the first year, the post office surveyed their staff and noticed an incredible improvement in the mental health and wellbeing of their staff. So already a lovely relationship that went both ways. What was staggering about this was that at the end of the second year, which was towards the end of last year, the post office published a £2 million saving in reduced absenteeism because of the positive impact that Mind UK had on supporting the staff and the positive engagement improvement that the staff had in supporting something that they had a say in. So you can use the CSR strategy to protect and grow your biggest asset, your employees. Further to that, the Gallup poll suggested that the 2 main reasons for staff to leave their jobs and seek employment elsewhere was poor corporate culture and poor leadership. So you'll notice in both those examples, this was not financially driven. The impact we make by supporting staff, looking after the environment, and supporting community projects and charities make us proud and happy, which has a positive impact on mental health and wellbeing, productivity and engagement. After all, the common good is our good. So we're going to touch on the stakeholder engagement and staff retention, a happy and productive workforce. Using social responsibility can help you engage with your customers in new ways, since the message is always something good. It can often be easier way to talk to your customers. If a customer likes the company, he or she will buy more products or services and will be less willing to change to another brand. Businesses improve their public image by supporting charities and community projects through monetary donations, volunteerism, in-kind donations, and strong partnerships. By publicising their efforts, companies increase their chances of becoming favourable in the eyes of the consumer. According to another US study, 87% of consumers would purchase a project based on a company supporting a social environment issue the consumer cares about. Consumers are rewarding socially responsible companies through that brand loyalty. It's not just about external engagement either. Social responsibility also boosts employee engagement. Employees like working for a company that has a good public image and is constantly in the media for positive reasons. Employees want to feel proud of the organisation they work for. An employee with a positive attitude towards the company is less likely to look for a job elsewhere. You can create an inclusive programme of social responsibility activities that staff can engage with and feel proud of. Happy employees almost always equal better output. Nearly 60% of employees who are proud of their company's social responsibility are engaged at their jobs. So we can see that by delivering a well-structured social responsible policy within an organisation, you might be able to improve that 10% of engagement to perhaps 20%, maybe 30%, maybe more. And in doing so, that improves productivity, it improves retention, and it improves that mental health and well-being. I think we are going to see in the coming months the gradual end of the current pandemic, but I think the next pandemic will be in mental health and well-being, as people start to kind of almost have a sense of post-traumatic stress about what they've gone through in the last 12 months. So it's going to be very important that businesses look at how they can build resilience in terms of supporting their staff as we go through the next 24 months. Some businesses are taking this a step further, encouraging their people to take on skills-based placements, which benefit both the employees and those they're helping. By giving employees the opportunity to give something back, employees have found a way to give their people purpose outside of their jobs. And it's certainly a worthwhile endeavour. 89% of volunteers reported increased job satisfaction, and 87% of volunteers reported greater pride in their company. The financial benefits will be found in building a highly productive and engaging workforce. So I think, there is a great driver there to look at how you can engage with your workforce in a meaningful way that improves the bottom line for your business. I touched on earlier the new talent pool, and it's not just a new talent pool, but recruitment is another big area. The greater ability to attract talent and become an employer of choice. Being a responsible, sustainable business may make it easier to recruit new employees as well as retain existing ones. There appears to be a change in mindset from those seeking employment for the first time. This may be about underpinning value for business by engaging with the next generation from a social responsibility perspective. Bucks New University indicated that over 70% of students actively look for an organisation's social responsibility policy before accepting a job or applying for a job. Furthermore, their careers platform, and this was an international careers platform, showed that for the first time, the average student would rather work in the public or third sector rather than banking and law. 5 years ago, the top job areas for students leaving with their degree was in finance and law. At the end of last year, and again pre-COVID, it was in the third sector and public sector. In other words, an organisation that delivers social value. This is about lining up your values with those of the next generation. Also, recruitment companies have reported that people who are older, in their 50s, and perhaps looking at what they want to do before retirement, are now changing jobs to work for organisations that deliver greater value, so they feel they have that value and purpose before they retire. The 2015 Nelson Global Corporate Sustainability Report indicated that globally, 66% of consumers are willing to spend more money on a product if it comes from a sustainable brand. Millennials gave an even more showing, with 73% surveyed, indicating a similar preference. Additionally, 81% of millennials expect their favourite companies to make public declarations of their social responsibility. Being a good employer has always served companies well in terms of recruitment and retention. In addition, engaged employees are more likely to stay with an organisation longer, reducing attrition costs. These initiatives can range from paid time off for volunteering to company-wide social responsibility initiatives that encourage team building through community or charity involvement. 76% of millennials consider an organisation's social and environmental commitments when deciding where to work, and 64% would not take a job if a potential employer did not have a strong social and corporate responsibility practices in place. So again, this is becoming an increasing issue, especially as we move from millennials to Generation Z, and matching our values with the values and vision that this new talent pool has as we go forward. Interestingly enough, we spoke with Costa last year. Costa said that their biggest cost was retraining. The fact that they implement social responsibility, almost cynically, but obviously the impacts were very good, but to retain staff so that they stayed for more than 6 months. I think their biggest single cost was the fact that staff were leaving very quickly, so spending all that time training them, and then they would leave, and then they would have to bring in new staff and train them. So by implementing social responsibility in a powerful and meaningful way, they were able to retain that staff longer, and therefore benefit from reduced training costs. So investment, building a social stock exchange, operational cost savings, better financial performance by reducing resource use, waste and emissions. You can help the environment and save money too. So that's quite an easy thing to do. We have examples of many organisations who have saved significant money simply by changing over to LED lights. But if you have a zero landfill waste management scheme, you can reduce your landfill costs. You can actually include things like cycle to work schemes that reduces impact on transport, improves air quality, and also has a benefit on the health and well-being of your staff. So within an environmental area, there's loads of things you can do. And of course, single-use plastics, responsible recycling, coffee mugs, and all these kind of things can be stuff that you can engage your staff with as well, internal poster campaigns, internal kind of social responsibility groups that can deliver these projects. It's also easier to access capital. Investors are more likely to back a reputable business. Investors who are pouring money into companies want to know that their funds are being used properly. Not only does this mean that corporations must have sound business plans and budgets, but it also means that they should have a strong sense of corporate social responsibility. Investors care about social responsibility, and so should companies. According to the London Stock Exchange, investors now routinely analyse information on CSR/ESG performance alongside other financial and strategic information in order to gain a better understanding of a company's future prospects. 60% of assets managed for EU investors incorporate sustainable investment strategies. So what the stock exchange is doing is it's using social responsibility as an indicator to look at the long-term sustainability and profitability of businesses that they're investing in. So it's becoming an important marker in future investment. And tendering trends, it's now commonplace to be scored on your CSR performance, including health and well-being of staff when tendering for both public and private projects. Already, 1 out of 3 local authorities insist on evidence social responsibility as part of the tendering process. And this comes back to that issue around supply chain. There are a number of organisations we have been talking to in the last year who have set up ethical supply chain directories, making sure that they only work with supply chain, with organisations within their supply chain who match their value, visions and purpose. And actually changing or moving away from organisations within their supply chain that are not doing that. So I think it's important to look at that. And again, if you look at the construction industry, HS2, for example, has very strict rules around the supply chain within that project. Of course, the most important thing about all of the things we've been talking about, it's all very well delivering your social responsibility, it's all very well using perhaps the CSRA 4 pillars to audit yourselves, to record what you're doing, to measure what you're doing, but also it's about how we measure that impact and how we report those CSR successes. And impact reporting has to be measured against evidenced activity. It's all very well having the storytelling for social media, but it has to be backed up by robust and authentic story doing. Developing the communication channels. So develop the communication channels to make the most of your CSR efforts and publish a CSR annual report made available to all audiences. Now this can be part of your report on accounts, or it can be something that's standalone. By taking a strategic approach, organisations can determine what activities they have the resource to devote to being socially responsible. So it's also important when building a social responsibility policy to look at the capacity your business has to deliver it. Don't overstretch, don't set goals that can't be achieved, and then try and align as much as you possible the social responsibility programme with your type of business and with that of with what the staff would like to do as well. By planning out social responsibility as part of an organisation's overall plan, organisations can ensure that profits and increasing shareholder value don't overshadow the need to behave ethically to their stakeholders. After all, social responsibility is a profit centre if done properly. Using the social responsibility 4 pillars matrix, you could begin to identify CSR activity that can be measured. By cross-checking against clear business benefits and impacts, you'll be able to start benchmarking results that can be used to measure continued development into CSR impact reporting. Monitoring and measurement will vary, of course, from activity to activity. Measuring energy performance is quite straightforward, as you can record electricity use before and after implementing an energy saving initiative, such as installing LED lighting. Interestingly, nearly a year and a half ago, it was February a year and a half ago, the UK published a 20% national saving in electricity due mainly to a switch to LED lighting. And that wasn't just in our homes. We were talking football stadiums and concert halls, car showrooms and factories. That's not 0.2%, that's a 20% national saving in energy costs. However, you may need tools for other areas, and UK Social Value UK and Social Value Global have a series of tools in which you can measure things like staff satisfaction, you can measure social impact as well. So you may need to use tools like satisfaction surveys to measure staff performance and retention, and look at recruitment change and reduce costs and training. It would also be possible to use software tools to measure increased brand visibility in social media platforms. This allows you to show evidence the financial and social value, to show that true return in investment. And I think every organisation will have its own metrics in terms of what absenteeism costs them, and what increased training costs them, what reduced engagement and productivity costs them, and so on and so forth. So it's about starting your CSR journey and planning for your future success. In our experience, many organisations are already doing lots of great things. They often do not realise that they all contribute to the success both financially and reputationally to their business. Getting the small things right can really instill pride and a strong culture within an organisation. This in turn helps retain existing staff and customers, attract new customers and even investors, all with positive financial impacts. When an employee is asked by a family member or friend, how is your job going? They don't often respond, yes, we had great pre-packed toilets of X amount. They often respond with, yeah, my boss is great. The company lets me work from home sometimes, which really helps in my childcare. And the company has a volunteer day policy. And this year we helped a local charity, and it was really fun. It was a day I really remembered. I'm hoping that what I've been able to do is highlight the benefits to your business of a more socially responsible approach and areas to consider. This can be done through your own reviews or a structured CSR program and accreditation that we can help you with if you wish. Everything we have discussed counts towards an organisation's CSR commitment. Each social responsibility pillar is designed to help you audit, benchmark, improve and impact report on areas such as energy, travel, health and wellbeing, community engagement and supporting charities. This forms the basis of an ongoing social responsibility policy, which will help you face and meet the challenges ahead. I think it's important to identify that social responsibility sits at the core of every aspect of business, whether it's HR, whether it's utilities, whether it's in the account side of your business, in the financial turnover and bottom line of your business. CSR is something that you can use to look at the diversity, gender equality, mental health and wellbeing, as I've said. It can help in terms of apprenticeships and work placements. It can help improve your environmental touch and, more importantly, engage you with the community that you live and work in, to building that local sense of advocacy as well. So I think it's an area that companies will increasingly need to look at in order to deliver that long-term sustainability and profitability for their business. As I said right at the beginning, the future shape of business will be measured in social value as well as financial value. And we want to encourage businesses to look at what they are doing already. We have had no examples of companies that aren't doing something. So if you start to look at those 4 pillars and think about what your company's already doing, put it together, audit it, measure it, and you'll be really amazed at what you're doing. The key is to share that now with your stakeholders. And more importantly, look at what you can continue to do and how you can add to that. As I said earlier, it's far better to adopt things now before you have to do them as they're written into regulation or legislation as we go forward. That pretty much brings to conclusion the presentation part of this webinar. I'm not sure how possible it is to whether we can have live questions, or if all questions are done through the chat room. Narinda, can you support me on that?
Yes, okay. So we've got something that's coming from Claudio. Hi, Claudio. He's mentioned that communication and marketing is key to success, both internally within prospects and clients, as Richard said.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of people that says that social responsibility is the new marketing. You know, I've heard people say that giving is the new marketing. The nice thing about social responsibility is it generates positive storytelling. So for example, if you support a charity, let's say it's 50 hours of volunteering, and you ask that charity to impact report on the impact that that volunteering has had, they'll provide you a good story to tell. Now, when you share that story on your social media channels, not only are you sharing that with your internal audience and your customers, but you're also giving bandwidth to that charity. That charity will reshare that story, and then you'll be exposed to a new audience of people. So again, you have a situation in which you're supporting that charity by giving them the benefit of your marketing, and also that charity supports you by allowing you to access a growing audience. In many ways, we are talking to the third sector and suggesting that in fact charities are really well placed to help businesses show what good looks like. So actually, by identifying a charity, especially one that lives within, you know, within your community, one that your staff can identify with. I'm not saying don't support the national charities, but it's really nice to find a charity that you know that is local, that has a local impact, and that you build a relationship with, not just a one act of giving, but a relationship that might last months or years.
Okay, great. Okay, we've got, yeah, Richard. Dear Richard, could you please, sorry, Claudia said again, dear Richard, could you please give a practical example on how to keep the employees in-house instead to lose them?
Yeah, so this comes back to the whole engagement program again. I think the thing is, depending on how big your business is and what capacity your business has to deliver a meaningful social responsibility policy, I think it's important to, first of all, ask your employees what they would like to do. Identify someone or a number of people within your organisation who can become the social responsibility enablers. So bring them on that journey to create that engagement, create that steering committee or that individual, and then set out a series of actions that you can deliver. And I think by doing that, the moment you start delivering and start reporting, you create that engagement. And that engagement allows those individuals to go home and, as I said, you know, tell these amazing stories. The construction company I talked about building the care homes, it was incredible the difference it made that 1 hour a week in terms of creating that staff engagement and making those people, you know, really proud of the business they work for. Another case study is as a charity called Buddy Bag that supports children who are taken out of domestic violence and put into care homes. And Buddy Bag is literally a bag in which you have teddy bears and pajamas and toothpaste and lots of lovely things. And they use an engagement program with local businesses. And interestingly enough, they do a survey at the beginning. So when a local business comes into the warehouse to fill the bags, they're often really kind of, why are we here? Why is my employee making me do this? I should be doing other things. You know, this isn't really what I want to do. And when they take the engagement survey at the end of the day, without exception, the staff are saying, this is one of the most moving and powerful days of my life. You know, I feel that I've done something important. I mean, not to say that their job wasn't important, of course it is, but I think this is giving that meaning and purpose above and beyond what the job is.
Okay, great. Thank you, Richard. And Claudia, thanks for your question. Okay, anybody else got any more questions or any questions for Richard? Yeah, we've got Sue. How easy is it to tell if a company is entering into CSR activities as a cynical exercise rather than because they really believe in it? And does it matter?
Yes, it matters massively, and it's an excellent question, and it's something we have been very careful to make the difference. Social responsibility is not a tick box exercise. It has to be authentic, and actually, in order for you to tell the difference, it's by making sure that the companies who say they are delivering on their social responsibility are delivering evidence to support it. So either they are abiding by, you know, regulations and they've got their ISOs in place, but actually, you know, if they say they have a diversity and inclusivity program, then ask to see it. It should be in their handbook. It should be written somewhere. If they say they are giving, you know, X amount of money to support a local charity, then they should be publishing an impact report. The charity should be backing it up saying, yes, we were supported by this company. We don't need to mention figures. We just need acknowledgement that there was a relationship and that work's been done. It's very easy. And I just want to touch on this very briefly because we redefined the C in CSR. I talk about social responsibility because that's really what it's about. The C traditionally meant corporate, and actually there has been a tradition in some cases VW, to name one, where corporate social responsibility has been abused to hide poor practice in terms of business practice. We wanted to kind of redefine social responsibility for a new era, and we wanted to redefine the inclusivity of the letter C in CSR. So C now stands for company, it stands for community, it stands for charity, it stands for consumer. Importantly, it stands for collective social responsibility and collaborative social responsibility. So C is the caring C that makes social responsibility available for everybody, from sole traders to multinational businesses. And every business that's come through our accreditation program has backed up and supported what they've done with evidence social responsibility.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And thank you, Sue, for your question. Okay, I've got a question for you, Richard. So are you currently finding that stakeholders are engaging more in the company's CSR?
Yes, COVID has had an impact on us all as individuals, not as people who work for companies, as individuals. And what we've seen as people have gone back into work, I think the thing is that we've all noticed an increased sense of community engagement. We've all noticed a kind of importance in terms of environment and the way we look after each other and respect each other. Again, that kind of, you know, suddenly the heroes became the white van drivers. I mean, obviously the NHS without exception, but the white van drivers, the people who serve us food in shops, you know, this kind of invisible workforce that we didn't recognise, and this new respect that we have for each other. And long may it last. I know we'll revert back to some old habits, but I do think that actually we will learn a lot of positiveness from this. We've noticed that as people have come back into the workplace, they are asking, how can we be a better business? How can we be a more responsible business? How can we be more diverse? How can we be more sustainable? And so on and so forth. And those questions are going up into senior management and up to the top of the business, and we are now getting increasing requests for information on how can we as a business deliver a meaningful and impactful social responsibility program. So I think what we're seeing is an increased appetite, and I can't stress enough that I think social responsibility is part of a recovery process. It's going to build that resilience. It is an investment. It is not a cost centre. It's a profit centre if done correctly.
And are you finding that companies are becoming more resilient and well prepared, that they can manage risks and adapt to new circumstances? Yeah,
we have, I could go on forever, but we have no ending case studies in which companies who have taken, I mean, again, it's been surprising. You wouldn't expect this, but within the last 3 or 4 months, we are aware of a number of organisations that have recruited social responsibility managers into their business to start to build that engagement with their staff. You know, we know we're going to go into a period of redundancy, and there is a big argument over that kind of V-shaped versus U-shaped recovery. But, you know, COVID will come to an end and there will be a recovery. And the shape of business in the future needs to be one that builds in that social value to create that retention, to create that resilience, and to create the long-term sustainability for future businesses.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions, anybody? Okay, great. So thank you, Richard, for educating us today on social value driving forward successful businesses. Your webinar has been informative and very insightful, so thank you very much. Delegates, please connect with Richard on LinkedIn, send him an email or call him. So I think the next slide has Richard's details on there.
Thank you for the prompt.
That's okay. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the webinar has been recorded. So if you wanted to just go back on previous slides, so for example, you wanted to get Richard's contact details, then you can just go on the Chamber website and then the webinar library, and you can listen to the webinar again and access these slides. So yeah, so please do connect with Richard. He's got lots to tell you about CSR. And yeah, so thank you again, Richard.
You're very welcome, and it's been a pleasure, and I'm very happy to answer any further questions. Please do get in touch with me or visit our website. Everything is on our website, so you can look at all the processes we've been talking about. And you know, I'm delighted to be able to continue to have that conversation.
Great.
With anyone who's attended this webinar in the coming weeks or days.
Brilliant.